But that's a good indication of what a lot of us do when we are in a toxic relationship. We turn a blind eye to some obvious things that's going on. If every week I'm getting my lip busted, I'm turning a blind eye to the fact that this man probably not good for me. If every week I feel like this man is making me feel at the lowest of the totem pole, that's a good indication that something is not right. If I'm, and let's take it to the church. If I'm in a church where I feel like every week I'm not growing spiritually, I'm not being fed spiritually, I feel like I'm being controlled to go a certain way or else, and I still don't do anything about it, then I might be turning a blind eye to some obvious things that's going on. See, again, that goes back to people only wants to do something and say something after it happened. Mm-hmm. They don't want to deal with it before it happened.
They don't want to. Then when you know better, you're supposed to do better. They don't want to do better. They know better, but they don't want to do better.
They don't want. It's a control factor. Mm-hmm. Just like I was telling you guys last week, when a person commits suicide, in a lot of cases, it's that one moment that they take that control back, that they feel like they lost. I can control when I die. Because they felt like they've lost all control in life. They've lost everything that they found of some value to. They've lost it, so now they feel like they don't have control, they don't have power, they don't have status, they don't have appearances. So this is the one thing I can control. Suicide is an act of control. And when we stop as a society, as a church, when we stop trying to make it a fear factor and teach that it is a control factor, then we can stop the why factor. Now, let me break that down so you understand that a little bit more. If we stop making it a fear factor, stop making it like, oh, you commit suicide, you're going to hell. We don't know that. We don't know the conversation that God and that person had before they commit suicide. So we can't make it a fear factor because we're not the judge and executioner. So if you stop making it a fear factor and start teaching that it is a control factor, that this is your way, if you decide to commit suicide, this is in your mind the way that you think you can get control back, but I'm here to educate you that there's a better way to get control back in your life without suicide. So if we start teaching that to the people, then it won't become a why factor. Why that person did what they did. Now, okay, another thing, we talked about another thing that plagues society is when you are in a toxic relationship. We talked about how a person will close a blind eye to the obvious signs. Remember last week, I was discussing with you that I am an antisocial person. I don't like to be in large crowds. Small crowds like this, I'm good with. I don't like to be in a large crowd. When I used to get invited to a lot of events, I would make excuses not to go because I didn't feel like I fit in that environment. Now, while there is nothing wrong with people knowing you and loving you for you, there ain't nothing wrong with that. People should know you. People should know your character. People should know why they like you, why they love you, why you mean something to them. People should know this. So while there's nothing wrong with that, there are some who uses this to hurt and destroy you, which was in the case of Samson and Delilah. Delilah was trying to get those 1,100 shekels by betraying Samson. So you have to be careful who you give all your information to. You have to be careful. Now, Samson, he loved Delilah so much to the point that he became accessible to her. Because remember, I said accessibility was the quality of being able to be reached or entered. So he made himself accessible to her to how he could be reached. Where his strength lies in. He made it accessible to her. And she used it in a negative way. Because like I told you, you should tell people who you are. They should get to know the real you. But you have to be careful with that because some people will use it to hurt you. Now, he made himself accessible to her. She did not, now Delilah did not consider the ramification of what would happen to Samson because of her deceit. And one may ask, did she even care? Was she so hung up on getting those 1,100 shekels that she didn't care what happened to him? One may ask that question. But maybe God don't need us to know why she did what she did. But it's the fact that she did what she did. Which goes back again to what I said. It's not about the why a person is considering suicide. It's stopping that person from getting to that point of suicide. Now because Samson's faith was misplaced, he felt weak when they shaved his head. Remember, I told you he put all his faith in his strength was in his hair. And he put all his faith in there. So sometimes we can misplace our faith. You know how some people, they put all their faith in, I'm somebody because I got this job, I make this amount of money, I live in this house, I drive this car, I got this woman or this man, so I'm somebody. And if I don't have those things, I'm nobody. And that's the way some people believe. All their success lies in those physical things that they can, or the tangible things that they can put their hands on. Some people actually, we're going to take it to the church again, because church is where the education needs to start this prevention of suicide. Some people believe that if I'm not in a church that's popular or that's big or have a well-known name, I'm not in a good church. Well, I'm sorry. I'm more concerned about making it to heaven than what the name of the church is or whether that church is popular or not. Because you can help make a church more accessible to those that are hurting in the wilderness. You can. So you need to stop worrying about whether a church is popular or not and start worrying about what I can do to make this church a better church to bring in those that are hurting. But now remember, I was telling you, I said in verse 22, Samson's hair began to grow. Because it said in verse 22, it said, howbeit the hair of his head began to grow again after he was shaven. So his hair began to grow. But during this time, they made a sport of torturing him and offering him for a sacrifice to the dragon gods. So they was using him as a sacrifice and an offering. Okay, in 22, is that Samson did not depend on his hair growing back for strength. Because remember, at first, he felt